Welcome to Wealth Roadmap with Jeff and Steve, your guide to simplifying wealth management. Join us as we explore financial planning, taxes, investments, insurance, and legal frameworks to help you secure your financial future. Double digits of the Wealth Roadmap podcast with Jeff and Steve.
1-0. Hello, everybody. I'm Steve Benny. Good to see you here today.
And I'm not sure if you're listening, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, all those different major platforms. We're on all of them, so be sure to share the show so that we can grow and hopefully educate America on the various retirement obstacles that people face. Now, one of the things that people face is they're not sure maybe where to put their money. And today, we're going to talk about what we would call safer investments, things where you might be able to get a guaranteed return. Speaking of guaranteed returns, while we were doing research for the show in terms of what to bring up and everything like that, Steve was doing the research, and he never went off camera. And so hopefully you're going to be watching this on YouTube, because if you are, we have some nice still shots of the facial expressions while doing research. And again, just like the guarantees in certain investment vehicles, which we're going to get into, this is a guarantee to make you smile. I did my best to impersonate Steve Benny while he was doing the research here. So if you can, just make it over to YouTube. But it's this is a good one. This is a good icebreaker.
You're sick. You have problems. Many problems. Although they do say imitation is the finest form of a compliment and flattery. So you know what? I'll take this and run with it. Thank you so much. By the way, you do an excellent job of imitating me. We're like spitting images right there.
Harry and Lloyd. So, Steve, back to the show. We're going to talk about guarantees. So talk to us about what you kind of say to your clients, what you talk through with your clients when, they may want something on the safer side, whether it's for their soon bucket or anything in that nature.
Yeah. Here's the thing. We always start, especially when we're planning for retirement, it really comes down to expenses. We talk a lot about that, right? It's maintaining lifestyle. So after everything's all said and done, there's going to be, not always, but for most, or for many, there could be an income gap, meaning based off of all the income that you have in retirement and what your expenses are going to be, what is that gap? How much extra, or in addition to what you have coming in fixed sources, for example, Social Security, pension, how much do you have to pull from the assets that you saved to cover that gap, to make sure that you're able to live the lifestyle that you want to live in retirement? And so when we're talking to our clients and to people who are working with and putting together plans, one of the questions that we ask and that we want to get a better understanding is that for the income that you're going to need to draw from your account, whatever that number is, and of course we adjust it for inflation, we take taxes into consideration, right? So what that number is, and usually we're looking at a 10-year period, so there's X amount of money that we need for kind of a 10-year period. So of that income that you'll need to draw from the accounts, how much of that income would you want guaranteed in your financial plan or your retirement plan? Right? How much would you need guaranteed? And so sometimes we say, well, kind of, what do you mean by that? Some people get it right away, but just for clarification, basically, if there's only really three ways to guarantee income for when you need it in retirement, or if you're taking early retirement, or you're just taking kind of a sabbatical from work and you need to get an income stream to maintain your lifestyle. And you could guarantee it through, again, three ways. You could guarantee it income through a bank. For example, you could buy laddered CDs, right? You can keep your money in a savings account that has a high yield savings account that has that interest rate. Alternatively, you could guarantee income through the government by building a government bond ladder, or you can guarantee income through an insurance company by purchasing an annuity. Think of pensions, right? A lot of pensions use annuities to be able to provide that guaranteed income stream. Social Security is really an annuity. It's a guaranteed income stream, right? And everyone loves their Social Security check. So once we give them an explanation of really those are really only three ways, we typically ask a follow-up question, which is, do you have a preference for any of those strategies, or do you just want us to go and find the strategy that's going to give you the highest potential rate of return? And, Jeff, going back to what we always talk about is it's not our plan. It's the person who we're speaking with, who we're meeting with, who we're talking with. It's their plan. Our role is to guide. Our role is to help educate. I've said this before. There are only a certain amount of strategies that we have available to us. So here they are. You tell us, share with us kind of what you feel most comfortable with. And if they need explanation, we'll certainly give that explanation. But I think that's the key, is that's the kind of role or the goal and the role that we play as advisors, is to educate, is to help them understand, is to guide with the options, the strategies that they're available, and then let them decide, right? So that's kind of how we start with it, Jeff. And I know you do it often as well. And I think it once they hear that, it gives them a better understanding, and it gives them more clarity around kind of what direction they want to go in.
Yeah, and I think it's just educating them on like how the pros and cons of obviously the different types, of the different products that you just mentioned, right? So you have CDs, you have government bonds, or you have annuities. So let's dive in, because I'm sure the audience, they may be familiar with two of the three or one of the three, but probably not all three. So let's talk about CDs, or certificates of deposits, which you're getting from the bank. The pro there is that they have FDIC insurance protection, right, up to, I believe, the $250,000 mark, and those returns or those rates are fixed. So you might get a 1-year CD, you might get a 3-year CD, 5-year, whatever the term is. But kind of like Steve mentioned, you can ladder those, based off of what kind of income you're going to be needing, over those next 5 or 10 years, right, to generate your income. The con with CDs is that they might have lower returns compared to your other investments, just because of the protection and everything like that. So there's risk reward there. But when it comes to non-qualified CDs, right? If you have money in a CD, and it's, even if you're not using that money, when you get interest, right, it's getting all added onto your taxable income. So, for example, if you did have 10 years worth of assets set aside, let's say in your SUM bucket, and you wanted all of that money in your CDs, and this is taxable, this is non-qualified money, and you create a CD ladder, even though you might be, utilizing, one CD for year one and so forth, you're getting hit with all of that tax every year, just based off your returns. So, CDs, again, whether you need the money or not, you're going to get hit with that tax, and it's taxed at the highest marginal tax bracket, right, Steve?
Yep, that's right. Assuming it's in that non-retirement account, correct?
Yep. But again, CDs, you can go to your local bank. Not all banks are going to be the same. You might be able to get a CD at I don't know, a big bank like Bank of America, Wells Fargo. They might have lower interest rates compared to what you can get at your community bank, or credit union, or some of these online banks like SoFi, and so on and so forth. So, depending on where you're going, you might have to open up another account, if you want to chase, obviously the highest interest rate.
Absolutely.
Anything else that we should point out on CDs, or I feel like that's probably like the most commonly known?
Yeah, the other thing, obviously, just as a kind, if the CD, did you maybe? I don't think you mentioned this. If you break it early, you could have a little bit of a penalty, right? So just making sure that they're structured with the right duration.
Yep. Yeah, and that's where if you're doing a CD ladder, but yeah, I mean each of them, depending on the CD that you get, there are ones out there that I've seen that maybe they're going to give you a lower interest, but
Yeah.
it's going to they would allow you to break it. So yeah, there's going to be pros
Good
and
point.
cons with all of them. And
Yep.
again, that's we want to make sure that whatever one you're going to get is going to fit what you're looking to do.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. And
So
then so after that, and obviously savings accounts is included in that too, right? But
yeah.
and
Well,
same
especially
concept.
now with higher rates, right? But again, 4 years ago we were not talking about
No.
putting your money in a savings account and getting not even 0.1%, right? You probably owed money on your savings account. Whereas now, yeah, you can go to Capital One, you can go to American Express or some of these other providers and get at least today 4% or so for money just sitting there that's fully liquid. And there's again, there's pros and cons there. So you're maybe giving up liquidity to get a higher interest rate, and that's gonna mean more to others than than a few others. So like that wasn't even a real sentence, but
Yeah, I was gonna
like
say, wait, did you just make up English there?
yeah. Again, I went to a state college, so you know yeah, I mean, like it's liquidity might mean a lot to someone, and it might not mean much to the next person. So yeah, like it's getting that extra 1 or 2% in interest to lock up your money for 12 months or 24 months worth it or not. But yeah, again, with where we are with today with interest rates, it's nice to see that someone can have full liquidity at these providers and still get 3, 4, 5%. Um, but again,
Yeah.
that probably won't last forever.
Yeah, bingo. And that's the thing, right? There's interest rate risk, just like for the next, the second option, and in no particular order, is government bonds. So, the pros of government bonds is it's safety backed by the government. And I don't want to go off course here, but look, as of right now, as of this recording, that is what is considered a risk-free rate of return, right? With government bonds, and it is, generally speaking, the safest investment an investor can make, right? Again, as of this investment, and I'm kind of joking there, but in all reality, there's protection from the government with these types of investments. So, with that being said, with a government bond, very similar to a CD, you could set up maybe a ladder, and it should coincide with really when you need to take the income, and that's kind of you could do it yourself. We do have clients, few that want to take on that responsibility, or you can hire or outsource that to be able to provide a treasury bond ladder, so to speak, and from a low duration, right, or a that, like, from, for example, 3 month, 6 month, 9 month, 12-month type strategy. You can take advantage of the interest rates so that you can use, as they come due, use the cash to buy additional notes. So, and let me go back actually for a second. Technically, they're treasury bills. Those are I would recommend the treasury bills. Those are the short-term securities, where you're able to kind of ladder them out. So if you have treasuries that you ladder out, very similar to a CD ladder, it's just that you may be able to find maybe a little higher rate of return, depending. But that's typically what we find. And depending on where rates are, maybe you have a little bit more with the 3 month or the 6 month. That's where building out the strategy is specific to everyone's individual situation. So knowing that you can have a safe ladder getting yield, especially in the environment that we're in now with interest rates being higher. However, the con here is you have to be careful because it is vulnerable to interest rate fluctuations. So remember, inverse relationship when with bonds. So when interest rates go up, bond prices go down. When interest rates go down, bond prices go up. Now, the benefit here, if we think about where we are currently with interest rates, and with what the Fed recently said, where they did not cut rates. However, they did say that there's going to be rate cuts in the future, this year and next year as well. So what we do know is we were in what they call like a 40-ish year bond bull market because interest rates were declining. So, and as the interest rates declining over the course of the years, bond prices were going up. So you may have not received interest, but if you held those bonds for those years, you were getting capital appreciation on those bonds. And so going back to 2022, what happened? Well, interest rates went up and they went up quicker really than they've ever gone up. And additionally, it was a year in which the stock markets weren't doing well either. Stock markets and bonds went down. Historical year for that. So what we do know is that bond prices, bond values went down because interest rates went up. Now we're in a situation where we're at, pretty much highs, interest rate highs. I won't say definitely, but based on everything that we've been hearing and based on what the Fed is doing, the decisions that they're making, we can foresee rates going down. Right? We're not guaranteeing that, but based on everything that we are reading, hearing, interest rates will be starting to go down. So what happens?
May go down. Hi, Dustin.
Yeah, that's us. Compliance, Dustin. I'm just doing my best here, doing my best job. And if that's the case, what happens to bond prices, Jeff?
They're going to go up.
They're going to go up. Exactly. So there could be interest rate risk, but we do feel that based on where we all are, that it is the interest rate risk isn't as high because interest rates, if they go down, bond prices would go up. Yep. So knowing that with a bond ladder, especially doing it now, two things. One, you're getting a competitive rate of return because interest rates are high. And that interest rate may go down, though, which is something that you have to take into consideration to make sure that you still will be able to get the income that you need with the assets that you have. And if we're talking about the soon bucket that you preserved or whatever amount that you preserved. So you want to make sure that if interest rates do go down, you'll still be able to get the income. But just know you will get appreciation on those on if you're holding a bond or the treasury bill, whatever type of conservative or treasury that you're holding, conservative bond or treasury that you're holding, you could get some capital appreciation, which you can't get with a savings account or CD. Right? A savings account or CD, all you're getting is that interest rate that they're providing. That's where using government bonds, where they're safe. And again, we're talking about guaranteeing. Yes, you could put money in bonds and that's conservative and it's considered a safer investment, but we wouldn't consider that to be a guarantee. But with treasuries, we would consider that to be a guarantee, but you also have that potential to be able to have the some of that growth if need be, and if you were to sell it before the duration of that bond came due. Right? There's a lot of moving parts here, but it really depends on a few things: how it's structured. It depends on if you sell prior to maturity of that treasury, and of course, what the interest rate that you're going to be receiving. Right? You want to make sure that that's a competitive rate, and because each of those treasuries do have a different rate, you just want to make sure that that rate will provide you the income that you need. So, long-winded kind of explanation just to say treasuries are a good way and another way to guarantee that income. It's you have to be careful with some of that interest rate risk, but where we're sitting today, we feel a little better than we did, a couple years ago or in 2022, especially when we're at low interest rate environment and interest rates kind of shot up quickly. So yeah, that's kind of what I would say with treasuries. And then the next one.
Well, I mean, another thing that we talk about a lot is, some government bonds, right, like municipal bonds, things like that. They may provide uh, um, tax-free yield, right? If it's non-qualified, right? So meaning that again, it's post-tax money. Yeah, you might not have to pay taxes on that. So when comparing it to, let's say, a CD, which is going to be taxed, um, again, it's really again not about what you make; it's about what you keep, right? We talked about this in the one podcast episode about taxes. So that's another benefit, to the government bonds, but remember that tax exempt interest is still going to go towards your IRMA for Medicare. But again, all these different uh, options have their pros and cons. But anything else on government bonds before we go to number 3?
No, just kind of speaking back to that cap appreciation, they're really not designed for that. I would like to just note that. But just from a standpoint of kind of how the relationship of interest rates and kind of bond prices overall work, I just wanted to give that background. But I just want to again just go back and say you're not looking for that capital appreciation. They're not really designed to do so. It's really for that safe income stream that you're going to be able to receive. So again, just to clarify that one.
Yeah, so the third one is annuities. Annuities kind of get I think a bad rap. I think there's a lot of bad annuities out there, and there's a lot of good annuities out there. I don't think that many people know that a lot of these large companies that have pensions, that these pensions are backed by annuity or insurance carriers. So most likely if you're working for a large company, maybe you're getting a payment from Athene or Bright House or Prudential or whoever it might be. But annuities are essentially a guarantee from an insurance carrier. Now, there's different types of annuities. I don't think we're going to have time to get into all of those options today, but for the most part, those guaranteed options that we're looking at when it comes to that soon bucket, if we're drawing down, you have fixed rate annuities, which works similar to a CD, where they say, hey, you're going to get, you may get 5% for 3 years. So you're going to get 5% each year for the next 3 years. And then at that point, you have to, decide if you want to put it into another product or whatnot, just like you would with a CD. The one benefit to an annuity compared to a CD is if it's non-qualified money, your earnings are tax deferred, meaning that if I put in $100,000 today and it's in that same 3-year fixed annuity that I just went over, where you're getting 5% each year, if that was a CD, I would get a 1099 and have to pay taxes on that $5,000 of interest that I received. With an annuity, it gets deferred, and I don't pay any taxes on that money until I actually pull the money out of an annuity. So that's one benefit. But again, annuities similar to a CD, or at least fixed rate annuities, they're going to give you a fixed rate for 3 years, 5 years, even up to 10 years, depending on the carrier. When you're looking at carriers, similar to, banks, they all have different ratings from, A plus rated, all the way down. And obviously the lower rated companies, you may get a better return. And that's something that, depending on the individual, they may find it, more appealing to go with an A-rated carrier. What else do we want to talk about with regards to annuities, Steve?
I think what you touched on, when you first started, there's a lot of different types of annuities. And so that's the key, is just understanding that and just making sure that, how much income that you need would determine the type of strategy with the annuity. Right. So, yeah, I think you did a good job there explaining that. Again, it's just one of those things with annuities that it's another option. It's another way to be able to guarantee, right? I'm going to say that word again. An insurance company can guarantee whether it is an income stream, whether it is principal protection, whether it is potentially a fixed rate, right? There are different ways that an annuity can guarantee money for you. It just depends on the strategy that you want. And all three are viable strategies. They all can be utilized as well. And each of them comes with their own pros and their own cons.
Yeah. And I think, once someone has understands how the three of them work, right? And again, pros and cons to whether it's held in retirement accounts or non-qualified accounts. It's, do you have a preference for any one of these strategies, or do you just want to see the one that's going to give you the highest potential rate of return or net return, right? Again, the bonds, you might be getting tax-free, so we want to compare apples to apples. So what's going to be actually your net return? And there's going to be some people that are going to say, hey, I don't want to touch the government with a 10-foot pole. There's going to be people that say, hey, I don't want to touch annuities. Or hey, you know what? The Bank of California last year almost went out of business. I'm not sure if I trust the banks. And again, we're not here to tell you to go to one or the other. It's really up to you. So when we're building your plan, again, we're product carrier agnostic. So you tell us what you would prefer. And so if our plan is going to call for a strategy that's going to have a safe or guaranteed return, again, based off your preference, that's where, we'd pivot to, which option is going to make the most sense for you.
Yeah. And just, one last thing to also clarify, because sometimes this gets a little confusing. But return is kind of different than income, right? And in that soon bucket, depending on the type of strategy, if it's a drawdown, if it's a yield-based approach, if it's a floor-based approach, but depending on the type of strategy based off of assets that you have, lifestyle that you want to live, expenses, other forms of income, we may be looking at, what's going to provide the highest return, if that's something that, you feel would be the best approach. Or if you're looking for a guaranteed income, what strategy is going to be able to provide the most income to you, right? Which is, it's a kind of just a slightly different way to look at it because of the strategies that you can find for income producing type of strategies.
Yeah. I think this was great. Again, there's different ways to build a retirement plan. And hopefully, you guys now have a better understanding of, the pros and cons of a CD, government bond, and annuity. That kind of wraps us up for safe money options here on the
episode 10. Episode 10 wrapped up.
Yeah. So, if you guys, again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. If you have any podcasts, otherwise, like, subscribe, and share. And we'll see you on the next podcast.
Pleasure to serve you all.
Take it easy. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed our podcast, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment on topics you'd like for us to cover on future episodes. We'll see you soon.
Financial planning and advisory services are offered through Prosperity Capital Advisors, PCA, an SEC-registered investment advisor with its principal place of business in the state of Ohio. One Team Financial LLC and PCA are separate, non-affiliated entities. PCA does not provide tax or legal advice. Insurance and tax services offered through One Team Financial LLC are not affiliated with PCA. Information received from this video should not be viewed as individual investment advice. Product discussions and illustrations are hypothetical in nature and will vary based on many factors, including but not limited to age, health, product, insurance carrier, and product design. You should consult the insurance carrier website and policy for detailed information. Content may have been created by a third party and was not written or created by a PCA-affiliated advisor and does not represent the views and opinions of PCA or its subsidiaries. For information pertaining to the registration status of PCA, please contact the firm or refer to the Investment Advisor Public Disclosure website. For additional information about PCA, including fees and services, send for our disclosure statement as set forth on Form ADV from PCA using contact information herein. Please read the disclosure statement carefully before you invest or send money.